A farmer in Nebraska is watching his entire wheat harvest rot. 600 acres, 3 days of rain turned his fields into a swamp. His combine is parked at the edge. His grain cart is sinking to its axles 200 yards in. He calls his neighbor. They hook up a tractor, full throttle. The rear wheels spin like crazy, mud flying everywhere, but the tractor doesn't move, not 1 inch. 600 horsepower doing absolutely nothing. And the insane part, the fix was a single lever inside the cab. One lever he forgot to pull. This is the story of the most underrated piece of technology in farming. A mechanism so critical that it decides whether you save your crop or lose everything. It's been on your tractor this whole time, and I guarantee most people watching this right now don't fully understand how it works or why it works. And when you hear the full story involving a world war, a French watchmaker, and a design flaw that paralyzed farms for decades, you'll never look at your tractor the same way again. Let's go. Before we talk about the lock, we need to talk about the thing it locks, the differential. And to understand why it exists, I need you to picture something stupidly simple. You're driving your tractor along a headland. You reach the end of the row and turn. Now pay attention to the rear wheels. The outside wheel has to travel farther than the inside wheel. They're covering different distances at the exact same time. On a slow turn in a field, seems like nothing. But mechanically, it's a nightmare. Here's why. The very first tractors, we're talking early 1900s, had both rear wheels bolted to a single solid axle. Same speed, always. Straight line? Fine. Turn at the end of a row, the inside wheel gets dragged across the dirt. Axles bending, gears grinding, tires ripping up the soil you just planted. Farmers were destroying their own fields just by turning around. Soil compaction, torn up headlands, broken equipment, and nobody could figure out a clean solution. Well, almost nobody. Here's where the story gets wild. The man who solved this problem wasn't a farmer, wasn't a tractor engineer. He was a watchmaker. A French watchmaker named Onésiphore Pecqueur, and he filed his patent in 1827. That's almost 80 years before tractors became common on farms. This man solved a farming problem before mechanized farming even existed. He was designing it for steam-powered carts, and the idea was elegant. Instead of locking both wheels to the same shaft, you place a set of gears between them. Straight ahead, both wheels get equal power. Turning, the gears automatically let the outside wheel spin faster and the inside wheel spin slower. No driver input, it just works. By the time tractors went mainstream in the 1920s and 30s, differentials were standard. Farmers could finally turn at the end of a row without ripping their equipment apart. Neat headlands, less soil damage, longer-lasting axles. For decades, it was perfect. Until harvest season met a rainy year. And that's when farmers discovered something terrifying about the differential. Something that would change tractor design forever. Here's the problem nobody saw coming. And it's so counterintuitive it'll make your head spin. A standard differential always sends power to the wheel with the least resistance. Not the wheel gripping the ground. The wheel that's slipping. So picture this. It's October. You're pulling a loaded grain cart across a wet field. Your right rear tire hits a patch of mud. Zero traction. Your left rear tire is on firm stubble, ready to pull. So which wheel gets all the engine power? The right one. The one in mud. It spins like a blender while the left tire, the one that could haul you out, sits there doing absolutely nothing. Your 200 horsepower tractor just became a 200 horsepower mud mixer. You're stuck. Your grain cart is stuck. Your harvest window is closing. And it's not because you lack power, it's because a set of gears is sending every ounce of it to the wrong wheel. Now multiply that across an entire farming community during a wet harvest. Thousands of tractors stuck in fields across the Midwest. Grain spoiling in the rows, equipment buried to the axles, insurance claims stacking up. This wasn't a minor inconvenience. This was an economic disaster hiding inside a gearbox. Something had to change. And this is where the differential lock enters the story. The concept is almost insultingly simple. If the problem is that power goes to the spinning wheel, what if you just lock both rear wheels together? That's it. That's the diff lock. You engage it, usually a pedal or lever in the cab, and both rear wheels are forced to spin at the same speed. One wheel in mud? Doesn't matter. Both wheels get equal power. The one with grip does the work. The first practical locking differentials showed up in military vehicles during World War II. Trucks stuck in European mud, supply lines in North African sand. The military needed machines that couldn't get stranded. When the war ended, that technology came straight to the farm, and the impact was immediate. Tractors that spent hours stuck in wet fields were suddenly pulling through. Farmers could work in conditions that would have shut them down a decade earlier. Harvest windows stretched, productivity exploded. But, and I love this part, the diff lock introduced a new problem that caught everyone off guard. Remember why the differential was invented? Wheels need to turn at different speeds and curves. Lock the differential, and you kill that ability. Try turning on hard-packed ground with the diff lock engaged and you're dragging the inside tire, chewing up your yard, stressing axles, wearing out tires in a single afternoon. Every tractor manual in the world says the same thing. Disengage the diff lock before turning. And every farmer has at least one story about the day they forgot. So now you've got two modes. One that's perfect for the road and useless in the field. One that's a lifesaver in mud but destructive on hard ground. Engineers needed a middle ground. And what happened next was an arms race almost nobody outside the industry knows about. After World War II, every major tractor manufacturer attacked the same question. How do you build a differential that knows when to lock and when to stay open automatically? First came limited slip differentials. Instead of being fully open or fully locked, they use clutch packs that partially lock when they detect a wheel losing traction. Think of it as a smart compromise. It won't send all the power to the slipping wheel, but it won't brutally lock both wheels either. It finds a middle ground. Companies like ZF, Dana, and Eaton poured millions into perfecting this. Torsen developed a worm gear system that physically resists uneven spinning, no clutches, no electronics, pure mechanical brilliance. But the real game changer for farming? Electronically controlled differential locks, sensors on each wheel. A computer brain, the ability to lock and unlock the diff automatically based on real-time traction data. Some systems even break the spinning wheel individually, forcing power to the gripping side, without any mechanical lock at all. John Deere's iTech system, Case IH AFS, Fendt's VarioGrip. These aren't just traction aids, they're artificial intelligence for your wheels. The tractor decides, faster than any human could, which wheel needs power, how much, and for how long. And here's the part that blows my mind. That little traction control icon that blinks on newer tractors when you're crossing a wet spot? That's your tractor's computer performing a digital version of what a mechanical diff lock does. Thousands of calculations per second, and most operators don't even notice it happening. You've been benefiting from a 200-year engineering saga every time you cross a muddy gateway. You just didn't know it. Now let me tell you about the machines that turned the diff lock into farming legend. The John Deere 4440 ask any farmer over 50 about their favorite tractor, and this one comes up constantly. Mechanical rear diff lock, engaged by a foot pedal. Simple, brutal, effective. Guys ran these things in conditions that would bury modern equipment, and that diff lock pedal was the secret weapon. The Fendt 1050 Vario. Front and rear diff locks, electronically controlled, with automatic engagement. This tractor thinks about traction, so the operator can think about the job. It's why Fendt has a cult following in Europe. The Case IH Quad Track. 4 tracks instead of wheels, but it still uses differential principles between track pairs. The locking systems on these machines let them pull massive implements through the worst conditions without breaking a sweat. And then there's the Unimog. Mercedes do anything utility truck that shows up on farms, in forests, and on mountainsides. Diff locks on both axles, portal axles for ground clearance. Farmers who run Unimogs for feeding, fencing, and land management swear nothing else comes close in rough terrain. Every single one of these machines owes its reputation to the same principle, getting power to the ground contact point that can actually use it. But here's what most farmers miss entirely. This isn't just a cool engineering story. This is about money. Your money. A farmer who understands diff-lock timing, when to engage it, when to release it, how to read field conditions, spends less on fuel, less on tire wear, less on stuck equipment recovery, and captures more of the harvest window. One study from a Midwestern extension service estimated that proper traction management can save a large-scale grain operation between $10,000 and $20,000 per season in fuel and tire costs alone. That's not counting the crop you save by getting through the field on time, instead of waiting 3 days for it to dry out. And it goes deeper. Soil compaction, one of the biggest silent killers of yield, gets worse every time a wheel spins in place. A locked differential that keeps both wheels pulling evenly puts down less compaction pressure than one spinning wheel digging a trench. Better traction management means healthier soil. Healthier soil means better yields. For years, the diff lock isn't just getting you unstuck. It's protecting your most valuable asset, the ground under your feet. And the story isn't over, not even close. Electric and hybrid tractors are rewriting the rules completely. With an independent electric motor on each wheel, you don't even need a traditional differential. Each wheel gets its own power source. A computer sends exactly the right torque to each contact point, thousands of times per second. Monarch Tractor is doing this. John Deere electric prototypes are exploring it. Autonomous tractors from companies like Bear Flag and Sabanto are building traction intelligence into their self-driving systems. We spent 200 years building increasingly complex mechanical solutions to the wheel speed problem. And electric drive might just delete the problem entirely. But, and I find this poetic, the underlying principle hasn't changed one bit. Get the right power to the right wheel at the right time. A French watchmaker figured that out in 1827, and every tractor rolling across every field on Earth is still proving him right. So next time you reach down and flip that diff lock, or next time your tractor's computer does it for you, remember this: there's a 200-year saga underneath your cab. A story of watchmakers and world wars, fatal flaws and brilliant fixes, mechanical gears and digital brains, all because wheels need to turn at different speeds around a headland. That one tiny problem created an entire universe of engineering. And honestly, I think that's the most beautiful thing about farming technology. The biggest breakthroughs don't come from the flashiest innovations. They come from solving the small, stubborn problems. The ones that show up every wet harvest, in every muddy gateway, on every sloped pasture. If this story changed how you think about your tractor, drop a like. And if you want more stories about the hidden engineering that runs your farm, hit subscribe. I've got a few coming up that'll change how you look at everything in your shed. I'll see you in the next one.